Hakadosh Boker Or Masechet Bava Kamma daf Amud Aleph 11a1. Says the Gemara, Im Tarof Yitaref Yevieu Ed. We're on Yod Amud Bet, just the last line when we actually wanted to say that the Pachat Nevela, which means if the Nevela went down in value, right, who is going to take that loss? Remember, we were talking about that now there's a dead carcass. Now, who's going to take that loss? So we said it was a Tanai here. It's a Machloket Tanaim. The Tanya, as we learned in the Braita. If right now a Shomer Sachar comes and he says, Im Tarof Yitaref Yevieu Ed. So the Torah says he has to bring an Ed to bring a proof that it became a Trefa. So that's what it says over here. Yavi Edim, he has to bring witnesses. Shen Nitrefa Be'ones, that it became. Right, that means basically this animal was given to him as a pikadon, as a security, and he has to bring witnesses that it was nitrefa be'ones, right? And he's going to be patur from paying tashlume nezek. Abba Shaul comes and he says, Yavi aduda lebedin. You're going to bring, the shomer has to bring the nevela to the bedin. Okay, what does that mean? In order to come and to evaluate it, and then you're going to come and say how much is the devaluation in the process. So, Maila Baka Mipalger, we're not dealing with in a case, the more savar, Pacha Nevela, the Nizakave, more savar, the Mazikave, which means that there's going to be a machloket. What exactly is the Pacha Nevela? Does it belong to the Nizak or does it belong to the Mazik? That's the question of the Gemara. Remember, one more time, the carcass, it goes down in value. Who loses out? Is it the Mazik or the Nizak? Mazik is the one, which is the one that does the damager, and the nizak is the one that is the damagee. Okay, so but over here, betorach. No, sorry. So that's the machlok between them. Answers the Gemara. No, the chule alma. According to everybody, the nizak. We're talking about the damagee. Betorach nevela kamipalge. But here we're talking about the torach of the nevela, meaning who is the one that takes care of the carcass. You remember we already spoke about that there's a machloket. Right? Somebody's animal comes, damages another animal, kills another animal. Who's the onus on to take care of that carcass? Is it the mazik or the nizak? The damager or the damagee? That's the question. So says the Gemara, the Tanya, we even have a braita in accordance to this. Acherim omrim, acherim come and they say, minayin shel balabait la'alot shor miboro. How do we know the balabait, right? How do we know that it's on, we're talking about balabor, right? Minayin she'al balabor la'alot et hashor miboro. Who's the one that has to take out the shor from the pit? One more time. The shor comes, it falls in somebody's pit. Who's the onus on to take out the shor from the pit? Remember, if this is a shor, is not a light, it's not a light thing. It's a little bit heavy. You understand? So who's the onus on to come and to pick it up out of the pit? Tamunumar, kesef yashiv li balav ve'amet. What does that mean? When it says here the balabor is going to pay kesef yashiv li balav ve'amet, so what does that mean? He says we want to make a dirasha that also the shor hamet alav la'ashiv li balav, which means that it comes out that the tircha, the work, the toil to get the nevela outside of the mazik, right? Daf Yomi Amud Aleph, right? Outside of the property of the mazik of the bor, it's incumbent upon balabor. So the balabor has to come and he has to take the animal outside of his pit. Okay, but to do with pacha nevela, maybe it's for the nizak. Maybe it's going to be for the nizak. Okay, fine. So now he comes and he says like this: Amale Abaye le Rava. Says Abaye to Rava. Okay, Hi torach nevela. What's the case of the torach nevela? Okay, what's the case where the Torah comes and he says that it's on the mazik, right, to come and to take out the shor from the board. Remember, the shor fell into the pit, it died. Who's it incumbent upon to take it out of this pit? Echidami. So what is the case? If you're going to tell me we were talking about the nevela, which is in the pit, is worth one zuz, right? And after you take it out, it's now going to be worth 4 zuz. So kitara, when the balabor is going to come and take it out, he's doing it for his own tircha. Why? Because now it's going to be worth an extra 3 zuz. So therefore, why does the pasuk come and be mechayev to come in, for sure he's going to want to take it out. I'm going to come and I'm going to sell you a dead ox, right? Okay, where is it? It's in a pit. Okay, so I'll give you $100, right? Where's the dead ox? No, it's right over here. I'll give you 300. Why? All I have to do is pick it up on the pickup truck and I have to take it. Hey, if it's going to be in a pit, in a pit, right?
Is the price of taking out?
Yes, exactly. So that's what he's saying. The difference is that, so therefore he's going to sell this. If right now it's going to go up in value, the fact that I took it out, so why in the world then am I going to come, thank you, why in the world am I going to come now and say, you know what? No, should he take it out? If he's taking it out, it's for his own good. He wants to take it out. So says the Gemara, Elmaleh comes and he says, Lo tzricha, what are we dealing with? The bebeira shav yazuza, the agud adam yashav yazuza. It's worth the same. Meaning, it's worth the exact same if it's going to be all in the pit or outside of the pit. And therefore, there's no to'elet. There's nothing that's going to help the balabor to take it out of the pit. So he's not going to take it out on his own accord. So therefore, the pasuk had to say, no. You're obligated to come and to take it out of the pit. Okay? So says the Gemara, Umi kakai gavna, right? Is there such a thing that it's exact same price? When did you ever see such a thing? Huh? Yeah, no, but there's a big difference. So there's a big difference. If it's found in an Amazon warehouse, right? So it's going to get there within the 1 day or 2 days. But if it's going to be found in I don't know where, it's going to take longer than that. So, but the question though is, where do you see that it's going to be the same value if it's inside of a pit or on top of the pit? Doesn't make sense. You have to pay for the removal, the retrieval of the animal. Okay, it's not going to be the same. So answer to in yes. The people say, Keshura bemata bezuza, Keshura bedabra by bezuza. When you're going to come and you're going to buy a korah, kshura is a korah. Korah is a beam, right? You know the beams that you use in your house. A beam in the city is worth 1 zuz, but a beam also, if it's going to be sold in the field, it's also going to be worth 1 zuz. So you see from here is the fact that even though one's in the city and one's going to be in the fields, it has the same price. Meaning there does exist such a thing that you're going to have the exact same price for an item, even though it's a different pickup place, right? It could have the exact same price. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, Amar Shmuel, says Shmuel, En shamin lo leganav velo legazlan. Meaning, right? If a person came and he stole, right? Remember, the difference between a ganav and gazlan is whether it's going to be behind the person's back or in front of their face. Okay? So, im adam ganav u gazal behema, or kilim, whether it's going to be talking about an animal, right? Or utensils, and then the animal dies. Yeah, it dies. Or the kilim broke. We do not come and say, right, that the Ba'alim are going to come and take, the owners are going to take, whether it's the Nevela or the things, but rather, and the Ganav is going to pay only the difference, but rather he has to pay the entire amount. Yeah, that means Ganav or Gazlan is not like what we just mentioned before, the Nizak, right, the person that gets damaged. A Ganav or Gazlan is worse off. What does it mean worse off? The owners don't have to take care of nothing. The Ganav and Gazlan have to take care of it from the beginning until the end. Yeah, very simple. By Nizak, we don't say that. By Nizak, there's a machloket, al mazik, al Nizak. No. Ganav and Gazlan, we don't do nothing. We come and we say, you take the animal, you take care of everything, give him back the money. Yeah? So says the Gemara, Vani Omer, and I'm going to say, Afla Shoel. So it's not going to be not only for a Ganav or a Gazan, right? El al nezikin, but only in the case of nezikin, right? That's when they were going to come and we were going to say that there's a machloket, right? About the difference, okay? Vani Omer, and Shmuel comes and he says, right? Af la shoel. Even a shoel is going to be the exact same halacha, okay? Which means that he has to pay the amount of the money. The Abba here refers to Rav. Remember, Rav and Shmuel were always arguing with each other, right? Rav. So Rav, modeli. Right? Abba, he agrees to me. That means Shoel is exactly like the Ganav or the Gazlan. Okay? Okay, fine. So, one more time. Right? We have Nizikin. Nizikin. Somebody comes, his animal damages, another animal. The animal dies. There's a machloket who takes care of the carcass, but there's opinion that who takes care of the carcass is the damagee, one that got damaged. He's going to come and he's going to take care of the carcass, and the difference, right, in price, will have to pay the mazik. However, though, Shmuel just comes and teaches you an important halacha. By ganavu gazlan, we don't say that. Right? Ganavu gazlan, we don't. Meaning, I cannot come and say, you know what, I just, somebody just came and they stole, right? I don't know what, type of a phone, or I don't know. And then what happens is that it broke, right? And then you come and you say, okay, fine, you take the phone, get it fixed. The difference between you're selling the broken phone, which they can fix, because maybe it's just a screen or I don't know what, that you're going to take, right? That's by ganav and gazlan. Comes Shmuel and he says, by Nizikin, obviously we brought down the machloka beforehand. Now what he's going to add that in also too with a shoel. So the shoel also is a borrower. So if the borrower, also the same thing, is when you borrow something, you're incoming to pay back the entire amount. We do not say, right, that it's going to be, that it's going to, obviously we're talking about where the shoel is going to be chayav. Because if the shoel is patur, there's no problem. This is what I mentioned yesterday, that when we're going to learn Bava Metzia, we're going to learn that a shoel is patur from meta mechamat melacha, which means if you come and you take an object and you used it in a normal way, right? They spoke about a car because they were all upset and they're very attached, right? They were attached to their car. But let's say, for example, somebody comes and he's going to borrow, one of those electric screwdrivers, right? I come, zoom. The fourth time I come, zoom, stops working. I didn't do it. I didn't use it in an illegal fashion. I used it normally. Everything was done normally. I am 100% patur. So they were all very upset because they go with their sentimental feelings instead of halacha. So therefore, there was, hey, but 1 second, you borrowed something. Oh, I borrowed it. I used it in normal fashion. You're right. If I come and I put it into a, how do you call this, a cement wall, and it's not meant for a cement wall, you're right. I used it in a not normal fashion. Or I took the car and I took it on a dirt road and I wasn't supposed to. Or I went right through puddles of water and I wasn't supposed to, right? Okay, I understand. 100%, you're going to be chayav. But if I'm driving normally, and all of a sudden after driving normally, all of a sudden there's a nail in it. I didn't go over construction sites. I didn't go there. That's not my problem. It's meta mechamat melacha. Meta mechamat melacha means, right? Meta mechamat melacha means that I'm not chayav on the item. I return the item and that's it. That's called a shoel. Shoel. That's what the concept of a shoel is. Okay? Fine. He comes and he says, shoel, right? He comes and he says, even a shoel is the exact same thing. The Abba modeli. Abba comes and he agrees to me that in such a case, if you borrow something and it gets damaged and you're obligated to pay, you don't come and deduce the, right? You don't, make a reduction on the value according to the difference in price. You have to pay the full amount. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, so now we're going to come and we're going to ask the following question. Hachi ka'amar, right? This is even if you're going to come and you're going to have kavanah. For Shmuel, he comes and he says, Af l'shoel shamim, ve'aba modeli, odin hachi kama, v'ani omer af l'shoel en shamim, ve'aba modeli, which means like this. Let's go back to the Braita. The Braita comes and he says, Amar Shmuel. Shmuel comes and he says, en shamim, we do not evaluate for a ganav or a gazlan, only for nizikin. What does that mean? Ganav or gazlan, we don't even pay attention. We don't care what happens, right? The person stole, he has to pay back the full value. I don't care. No, but I have the animal. No, sorry. You take care of the animal. You take care of everything. You stole, you go and pay back. That's the way that's halacha. That's according to everybody, right? And that's Shmuel. Okay, very good. But now he comes and he says, Vani omer af l'shoel. I add in the shoel. What does it mean, the shoel? The shoel is like lenizikin, because he just said, En shamin lo ganav lo gazlan, ela lenizikin. It's like nizikin. Or the shoel is like ganav v'gazlan. Which one? And then he says, Rav is modetem. On which side? So that's what the Gemara asks. Af l'shoel. Does it mean when he says af l'shoel shamin, we evaluate, just like by Nezikin? And Abba modeli, which means Rav agrees to me. Or maybe Achya, maybe the opposite way. Vani omer af l'shoel en shamin, that we do not evaluate. And Abba modeli and Rav agrees with me. So let's try to be poshet the safek. Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Tahu gavra de sha'il narga. There was a person that came and he borrowed a garzen, right, an axe from his friend. Tavre, and he broke it, b'pshia. He broke it, right? B'pshia. Why does it say pshia? Right? Because the number 16, I don't know what number it is in the English, but if you look in the English footnote, and this is for Mordechai, it says, Rabbi Rashi Metzia Tzadik Vav Amud Aleph, v'ikar hakavana hi shelo nishbar mechamat hamelacha, shavura sha'al et hagarzen. It did not break for the melacha that you borrowed it for. Umitoch avodah kederech shimusho, and you used it like normal usage. She'az haya hashoel patur, because then the shoel is going to be exempt. Kedin meta mechamat melacha. Just like meta mechamat melacha, it died because of melacha. It's brought down in the Gemara over there. So therefore, he comes and he says, "Ulam be'chol ofen achar shenishbar v'afilu be'ones arei hu chayav leshalem et hagarzen." Right? He says, "Dino shaveh v'gemara shama girsa itbare broke." But whatever the case is, but basically that's the meaning like this: you come and you took an ox, and you borrowed an ox to plow. In the middle of the plowing, all of a sudden the ox drops dead. So if you used it the normal melacha, the normal way, you're patur. Never lend them an ox. Okay, don't lend them an ox. That's halakha. That's halakha. Right? And what's the concept? Is at the end of the day, right, it would have died even when you were working it. Yeah? Okay, so it died now when he was working it. But you think it would have died when you were. Again, if you're going to tell me now that he was plowing on the stones and I don't know what, fine. But it's meta mechamat melacha. Very important to learn this halacha, because many times people make this mistake. They lend out something and then they say, okay, but you broke it, you have to pay me back. Right? And now if you take the money from him, you'll have to come back in a gilgul to pay it back.
No
Why? Because you didn't go to a bedin and you didn't ask a dayan. And a dan, of course, 100%. Do you know that it actually happened with someone that they came and they were arguing with somebody else with going to a bedin to go with money, and the person, this was a real estate transaction, and the person comes and he was putting pressure on him that he wanted the money back, right? So the guy calls me up, right, and he's trying to put pressure on me that I should put pressure on the guy to pay him back. I went and I said, I don't understand what you're calling for. He says, why? I said, go to a bedin. I don't go to bedins. I said, what do you mean you don't go to bedins? I said, go to a bedin. No, he owes me the money and that's it. So I went and I told him, I said, it's very interesting. I said, why don't you go to a bedin? No, because a bedin, it's like, it's like, I have to go to a bedin. It's like, I went and I said, do you know that right now, if you're going to get the money against the guy's will, because you're putting a lot of pressure, and really in bedin, the person is 100% patur. You know what happens? You're a ganav. Do you know that? The guy was shocked. No, and when I said, go call a dayan. I called up Rabbi Sean. He told me 100%. I was correct, right? I called back the guy. I said, I apologize. You either go to bedin, or I'm going to tell the guy not to pay you. Why? Because if you don't go to bedin, you don't know if the guy's chayav or patur. Why in the world would he pay you? Stami wants to give you a matana. You think he wants to give you matanot? He doesn't want to give you matana. So therefore what? So it's either you go to bedin and you find out halacha, or that's it. So the guy got all upset at me. He never spoke to me for the next I don't know how many years, but it doesn't matter.
So take
right?
it to bedin.
I don't have to take him to bedin. If a guy doesn't want to see the truth, you don't have to take a guy to bedin. You understand? The truth is, he did speak to me after I think it was 4 or 5 years. He came back again afterwards, and he was like, understand? But right, the guy was upset. He was like, like what? I was trying to force the rabbi to get involved, and I didn't go his way.
Who is it?
What?
Who is it?
You want me to say your name in front of everybody? Yeah. So basically, very, very important, right? Okay. So again, that's just the concept.
Usually, bedin try to do shalom.
So Tashema, right? So we already said, right? The Ahu Gavra, the Shai Narga. So he came and he broke the axe. Tavra, he broke it. Atalak Rav, he came in front of Rav in order to give the psak. Amarle, and he told him, Zil Shalim ne Narga Malia, go pay him a good Narga. Now remember, again, the reason why I mentioned this was because he broke him the pshia. That's why he was chayav, because the shoel, the borrower, he didn't break it normally. He broke it with a negligence, meaning he was negligent in how he used this axe. So Rav comes and tells the shoel, go pay back a good one. Shema mina, so you see from here, in Shamin, we don't evaluate it, meaning we're not going to come and start evaluating 1 second, how much is a broken axe, what's the difference in price you're going to get, pay the difference. No. You're a borrower, you broke it with pshia and Shamin. So it comes out that when it says in the Braita that Shmuel said, Af la shoel right? Also, the shoel is the same halacha. Afla shoel means the same halacha as what? As, don't all scream out at the same time. One more time.
Nezek.
No, the opposite. Ganav and Gazlan. Yeah, but Ganav and Gazlan. One more time. Braita comes and says, Shmuel says, when do we evaluate? We do not evaluate for a Ganav and a Gazlan. Ganav and Gazlan, I don't want to talk about the dead carcass or about the utensil. The Ganav and Gazlan, I come in, I tell you, you stole $400 worth, pay $400 worth. But Rabbi, I don't care. Nobody needs to know about what's there. You take care of that. You have to work for it. You have that. You're a Ganav and you're a Gazlan. It says, Masechet, Nezikin. Nezikin is not like that. Nezikin you evaluate. Says the Gemara, Shmuel says, Ani Omer, I'm going to say also a shoel. What's also a shoel? A shoel is like a Nezikin, or a shoel is like a Ganav Gazlan. And then he says, Rav agrees to me. So if he says Rav agrees to me, meaning Rav and Shmuel, they hold the same halacha. So therefore we brought a proof. We didn't know which word does that mean. So then we brought a proof that by the shoel, when he broke it, and he's chayav l'shalem, we don't evaluate it. So it's not like Nezikin. It's rather like what? Like Ganav and Gazlan.
Right, because this example is an axe with.
There's the Gemara. Adraba, the exact opposite. Mide amri lei Rav Kahana v'Ravasi leRav. From the fact that he told Rav Kahana and Ravasi to Rav, Dina hachi. Is that really be'emet halacha? V'shatik. Meaning, right, what happened is he says, what, that's the din? That he cannot give him back the broken axe and everything? He has to pay back a full utensil? V'shatik. He kept quiet. Shema mina shamim. Right? If I'm going to ask you a question, he says, what, is that the halacha? And he kept quiet. So therefore it's mashma no, the halacha is not like that. Right? Why? Because he asked him and he kept quiet. He didn't answer yes. So therefore, it's mashma not like that. So okay, so we're going to have to try to bring then another braita to see what's halacha. So Itma, Amar Ula comes and he says, Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, Shamin leganav gazlan. We are going to evaluate for a ganav and a gazlan. Rav Papi Amar en Shamin. Rav Papi says no. The hilchata and halacha is en Shamin lo leganav lo legazlan. We do not come and we're not going to evaluate for a ganav or a gazlan. Aval shoel shamin. But for a shoel we do just like Nezikin. Rav Kahana and Ravasi, like Rav Kahana and Ravasi. Okay, fine. Next. The Amar Ula, Amar Rabbi Elazar. It says Ula in the name of Rabbi Elazar. Shilya, shiatzta, miksata biyom rishon, umiksata biyom sheni. Right? Since right now we brought down a psak of Ula in the name of Rabbi Elazar, we're going to bring down another whole bunch of halachot, because if not, what's the connection now between a shilya? The shilya is a placenta that comes out, right? So he says over here, this is a woman that comes and she has a miscarriage. So she's going to be mapila, a placenta without a child. So therefore, shilya sheyatzta, miksata b'yom rishon, a little bit of it came out on Sunday, on the first day. Miksata b'yom sheni, and a little bit on the second day. When do you start counting the tum'ah? Monin la mina rishon. We're going to start counting the days of tum'ah from the first day. Okay, so obviously we do not know the surat ubar, right? And therefore still she's going to be tmeah leida. Now the question is, right? So what happens? You're going to have to count the 2 weeks. Now the question is, from when do you count the 2 weeks? From the first day or from the second day? So a little bit of it came out of the first day, a little bit came out the second day. So he says monin mina rishon. You're going to count tumat leida from the first day. Okay. So Amaleh Rava comes and he tells Ula, Madatach, what is your reasoning? Why do you pass like that? So he says, Lechumra, are you doing Lechumra misafek, that if that maybe it came out, the majority of the child came out, right, on the same day? It's Chumra datin lekula. The ka, mitarta, right, mitart la mirishon. It's a Chumra, which is coming to a kula. What's the Chumra? You're coming, you're saying she's already tmeah from the first day. So it's a Chumra. It's not a chumrah. It's a kula. Why is it a kula? Because when it finishes at 14 days, you're going to be 1 day early, right? Meaning, you thought that it was a chumrah to start on the first day. right? Let's just say Sunday, even though it's Lav Dafka Sunday, but here it doesn't mean Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, meaning it doesn't mean the days of the week. It just means the first day or the second day, but just to make things simple, right? Let's say a little bit came out on Sunday and a little bit on Monday. You want to go to Chumrah. What's the Chumrah? It came out on Sunday. Chazak u'Baruch. That's a Chumrah. But it's coming to a Kula. What's a Kula? Because later on, when you're going to finish the 14 days, it's going to finish one day early, right? Because you started one day earlier. So it's finishing one day earlier. So it's a Chumrah that Kula.
It depends where you get. If you are in the middle and you say, no.
The Rabbi comes and he says, Lachush, we're going to come and we're going to be choshesh for Tumah. And we're going to be chosheshet, right, already from the first day, right? V'mimna lomanya ela lasheni. Says the Gemara, no. You know what the shita is really bemet? Really bemet, it's a chumrah on both sides.
Yeah.
How do you do chumrah on both sides? We are going to suspect from today. So from the first day, from the Sunday, we're going to suspect. But when do you start counting? Start counting on tomorrow. Now, by doing that, that's called a chumrah.
On both sides.
On both sides.
Yeah.
That's called a chumrah on both sides. Right now it's beautiful, because you're doing a chumrah on both sides. I'm suspecting from today, which is the Sunday, but I'm only counting from tomorrow. And that makes sense. Okay? My kamash malan. What is it coming to come and to teach us? So he says, my kamash malan, what is it coming to teach you? He says, the en miktzat ashilya belo vlad. It doesn't exist that a part of the shilya comes out and there's not part of the vlad over there as well. And that's why we say that there's only safek im bechelek sheyatza b'yom rishon, you have the rov, or, and that's why we're going to be machmir, right? Or is it going to be on the second day, right? So basically, because that we're not sure, which means like this. Remember that the shilya, whenever there's a placenta, there's a child, right? The only thing is, we don't know if the majority of the child came with the placenta coming on the first day or on the second day. Tanina, and we already learned this in the Mishnah and Chulin, shilya sheyatzta miksata asura ba'achila. If you right now have a shilya v'be'ema that comes out before it's done the shchita, and there's no child, so kol shilya, you're not allowed to eat it. Why? Because it's a siman of vlad beisha. So too it's a siman of vlad in a be'ema, which means that for sure there was a vlad there, and it became nimoach, it became disintegrated, like it got squashed or whatever you want to call it exactly. Okay, and therefore, even when part of the shilya comes out, we're going to suspect that maybe in that part you had the rov of the vlad, and therefore it's like ki'ilu, that it was already yelud, and therefore you're not allowed to come, and right, and you're not going to be matir the shchita ta'em. Okay, in such a case, you're not going to come, right, and you're not going to permit, right, the shchita of the mother. Okay, now he comes and he says, right, like this. He says, no. So he comes and he says this. Varegam kan, it's going to be barur that we're going to be oser the shilya misafek, and because miktzat shilya, there's no miktzat shilya b'nivlad, and therefore we do not have a sfek sveka, and therefore why do we already need this if we already learned this from the case of a shilya sheyatzta miktzata, right? That it's asura ba'achila. Okay, which means like this. We know that the shchita of a behema permits everything which is inside of it, right? That's what we actually learn from the chol b'behema ota tochelu. And therefore, what happens if you have a pregnant animal and you do shchita, right, to the pregnant animal? So therefore, what happens is that everything that's in her body is considered part of the shchita. It's called ben pekua. If you ever learned the terminology, ben pekua. What does that mean? You have a child inside of a pregnant mother. You come and you slaughter the mother animal. So now the child does not need shchita, does not need nothing.
How long is it going to stay alive?
Even if it's
You could leave it 10 years,
10 years,
20 years, 100 years, doesn't matter. It's called ben pekua. Ben pekua means you do not need, right? So now he says like this: before the shchita, even if afterwards it took it back, it's a sur b'achila, and the rest of it is going to be mutar. But if it took out its head, it's considered that it was already born. Okay? Everyone with me? Yeah? So therefore, what are we saying now? So we're saying that in such a case, right, since the shilya, part of the shilya came out, you're not allowed to eat the rest of the shilya which is inside. You're not allowed to eat it. Okay? So if we already learned this in chulin, Why do we need the Ula in the name of Rabbi Lazar by us? That's the question. So answers the Gemara. Imi matnita, if it's going to be from our right Mishnah, Hava Mina, I would have thought to say Yudalef Amubet 11b. Tiesh mikzat shliya belovlad, right? V'gzera mikzata tu kula. That really be'emet there is mikzat shliya without a vlad, but it's a gzera mikzata tu kula. It's a gzera part of it because of all of it. Which means if you're going to start permitting part of it, right, to eat, so then you're going to make a mistake and you're going to permit the entire thing, right? And it's going to be a problem. Kamash Malan comes to teach you that Ula had to come and say that even by a woman, we're going to say that she's considered like a yoledet, and we're going to be metameh misafek from the first day, and therefore, even if mikzat min hashliyah does not go out without mikzat guf of vlad, it doesn't matter. We're going to be metameh. That's why we have to actually come, right, and we have to actually learn this. Okay, fine. Nikuda. Next halacha of Ula and the name of Rabbi Lazar. One more time, since we brought down the halacha beforehand of Ula and the name of Rabbi Lazar to do with the case of the, how do you call this, of the who do you evaluate, whether it's going to be for a Ganav Gazlan, and then we said not for the Shoel, so therefore we brought down another few halachot in his name. This is the second one. Ve'amar Ula amar Rabbi Lazar, says Ula in the name of Rabbi Lazar. Bechor shenitraf, right? Let's say you have a Bechor, and he became a trefa, which means that he was killed, right, through an external source. For example, let's say it was a wild animal, betoch 30 yom, within the 30 days. En podinoto, you do not need to do pidyon ben. Okay, so therefore he was killed from an outside source. It wasn't that he died naturally. Okay, because usually, remember, there's the concept of a nefel, which means that they die naturally. Here, there was no dying naturally. It was pashut that he was killed, let's say by a chaya, wild animal, whatever it is, within the 30 days. So en podinoto, you're not going to come and you're not going to redeem him. Lechen tani Rabbi Bar Chama, mitoch shneimar, since it says padot tiftet bechor adam. Maybe I would have thought to say that you still have to do pidyon, but it says padot tifteh, tamunomar, ach padot tifteh. When it says the word ach, chilek et tzivui, and therefore we say that in this case you do not have to do the pidyon. Why? He was killed. He was killed by an external source, and since he was killed by an external source, you do not have to come and do the pidyon aben. Okay. Next halacha. Ve'amar Ula amar Rabbi Lazar. Says Ula name Rabbi Lazar. We're talking about a big animal. Remember, there's something which is called behema daka, and then there's something which is called behema gasa. Behema daka are the small animals, like, a little sheep, a little this. There is something which is called a behema gasa. Behema gasa is a big animal. So there's going to be differences, for example, in how you do the shchita, what type of a knife. Obviously, gasa, you need a big, long knife. Daka is a small one. There's differences in pregnancies. How many months of pregnancy is it for a behema gasa? How many months of pregnancy is behema daka? There's many differences between behema gasa and behema daka. So says the Gemara, behema gasa is going to be acquired through meshicha, meaning when you come and you pull the animal, that's how you acquire a behema gasa. So ask the Gemara, Dehanan Tran b'mesira. So 1 second. But I thought that we learned in the Mishnah and Kiddushin that you could acquire a behema gasa even b'mesira. Not only b'meshicha, b'mesira, giving it over. That's all that you need, right? So what are you talking about now? So here it says here, you're giving over to the konet, for example, let's say I forgot how it's called. Where you put the saddle and all those things, like, meaning that's called mesira, that you're giving over certain parts of the animal. Meaning you're not actually giving over the animal. The reins, thank you. Right, the reins is where they have it, or the saddle, all these different parts of that goes on the animal. So that's how you call that. It's called mesira. You're giving over. Because again, if you're giving over the animal had to walk over, so then it's already meshicha. You already did that. Okay? So answers the Gemara. He says like this, the Tanya was learned to the right. Chachamim say, zo vezu, whether it's behema gasa or behema daka, b'meshicha. Rabbi Shimon omer, zo vezu b'agba. You have to actually come and you have to actually pick it up. Okay? Fine. So therefore, our Mishnah was obviously going according to the Tana. That's basically like Chachamim or like Rabbi Shimon, and therefore you cannot do it through Mesira, but rather, right, whether it's going to be the Meshicha, right, it had to be through Chachamim then. Okay, next. Fifth halacha, in the name of Ula, in the name of Rabbi Lazar. Amar Ula amar Rabbi Lazar. Ha'achin shechalku, right? The brothers, that they come and they divide the Yerusha of their father. Ma she'alehen shamin. right? Whatever that they have on top of them, their clothing, they're going to evaluate as part of it as well. But that which is on their sons or daughters, and shamin, they do not evaluate. So the clothing that they have on themselves, they're going to evaluate within the Yerusha, but not the clothing that they have on the daughters and the sons. Right? Amar of Papa says, there's going to be sometimes af mashalen and shamin that even what's going to be on top of them, they're not going to come, they're not going to evaluate. Mashkachala, what is the case? Begadol achei, in the gadol achim. Why? Gadol achim, he has to put on very, very nice clothing. And when he's going to come and put on nice clothing, it doesn't go into the cheshbon. Why not? Because he's a representative. And therefore, when he's going to come and he's going to put the nice clothing on, he's representing, he has to sell. He's going to come in all these, they're going to come, they're not going to take him serious. He comes in a nice suit and a nice this. This guy's, oh, wow, you understand that? It makes an impression. That's why he needs that. So therefore, since he needs that, we do not take that into consideration. Meaning he keeps that. It comes for free for him. For Gadol Shabachim. Because the other brothers, it's good that his word should be heard. Meaning it's good that they're going to pay attention to him. It's good that, so therefore that's why he has to come, right, in this, very well presented. Okay? Next.
The point is serving them too.
That's what we just said. It's good for them. Right? It's good for them that his words are going to be heard. Okay? Ve'amar Ula. Ula says in the name of Rabbi Lazar, Shomer shemasar leshomer. Imagine right now you have one shomer that he gives his pikadon to another shomer. So, for example, I give you an item and I tell you watch over it. It's a collateral you're going to watch over, and you come and you give it to another shomer now. Now you didn't get permission to give it to the other shomer, right? You didn't get the permission to get it, from the owner. You didn't get the permission. You went and you gave it to another one. Patur, the shomer harishon is going to be patur mitashlum for all the nezek. Okay. Velo mibaye, and not only in the case of shomer chinam shemasar leshomer sachar. We're not even talking about a case where shomer chinam comes and he gives it to shomer sachar that he's going to be patur, right? In the case of, for example, if it's going to be stolen or lost, right? Just like it was at the beginning that he was going to be patur from the beginning. Taluye ilaya leshminato, because he actually went up in shmira. Meaning like this. What's a better shmira? What's a better form of protection? When I give it to somebody and I tell him, listen, do me a favor, watch over it. Or I give it to somebody and I pay him to watch over it. So obviously when you pay someone, that's when you get a better job done. Right? That's what's always the rule of thumb. Right? When you pay, you get a better deal. You get a better protection. You get something better. Right? Than just that I'm doing you a favor. So because of that, we're not only talking about in a case where it was a shomer chinam. That means you were the first shomer chinam that you got it from the Baalim. And you gave it over to a shomer sachar that you went up in the way of the protection. Elafilu shomer sachar shemasar l'shomer chinam. Even in a case of a shomer sachar that he gave it to a shomer chinam, that means he's going down. Tehashta garueh gar l'shmirato. That he's going down in his shmira because now he's doing you a favor. Nami patur, he's also going to be patur if something happened honest, just like he was at the beginning, right? Share masar leben da'at, because he gave it to somebody that has da'at, which means the fact that he gave it over to a competent person that could come and could watch over the object, who I gave it to doesn't matter. I still have the same halachot that applied to me at the beginning. And since at the beginning I was going to be patur, I'm going to be patur right now. Why? I give it to a ben dat. That's all that I had to do.
Even if the owner didn't give
Even if he didn't give the permission. Okay, that was the first shita of Ula in the name of Rabbi Elazar. Comes Rava and he says, Rava Amar, Shomer Shemasar Shomer Chayav. The exact opposite. If you're a Shomer and you gave it to another Shomer, you're going to be Chayav. Velo mibaye, not only in a case that you were a shomer sachar, that you give it to a shomer chinam, that you went downwards, you're going to be chayav. Right? But that obviously you're going to be chayav. You went down. Ela filu shomer chinam shemasar leshomer sachar. Even in the case of a shomer chinam, that you went upwards and you gave it to a shomer sachar, you're going to be chayav. Elmaleh, because the Baalim could say, at mehemant li b'shvua, hai lo mehemen li b'shvua. He could come and he could say, listen, I only believe you in a shavua. Meaning, why did I give it to you? You know why I give it to you? I give it to you because you have to swear, right, that you did not do a pshia. Meaning, when I come to the guy and I say, listen, what happened to my pikadon? And they say, no, there was an honest. right? Maybe you were negligent. He has to swear. That swearing, the Baalim, the owners, come and say, I only believed you. I don't believe this guy. I don't know who this guy is. I don't care about this guy. This guy could be now Shomer Sachar, Shomer Chinam. I don't care what the guy could be.
Then you can
Right?
go after him.
Right? But no, so because of that, he comes and he says, right, I'm not going to believe it, and therefore he has to pay me back. What you could do afterwards, it's not my problem. But we're talking about the problem of the Shomer, the first Shomer. Is he chayav to pay or not? Next case, Hora Shvit, seventh case. Amar Ula Amar bi Elazar. Says Ula name of Elazar. Hilchata, what's halacha? Govim min avadim. Right? We could actually take and collect a chov from the avadim of the loveh. Right? What does that mean? The Gemara is going to explain. What are you talking about now? You're going to collect a debt from the slaves of a person that what's going on? So says the Gemara, Amar le Rav Nachman leula, says Rav Nachman to Ula, Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, afilu miyat. Well, you're going to tell me even from Yatomim? Meaning, you have a father that he owes money to somebody. He passes away. Now you have Yatomim. Now you're going to tell me what? You're allowed to come and collect from the slaves? Well, what's going on? So says the Gemara, no. We're not talking about from Yatomim, rather meaning from the person himself. So you could collect from the actual avadim themselves. Why? Because avadim are considered metaltalim, right? Which means that we're not going to be goveh from the Yatomim or from lekuchot. So says the Gemara, minei afilu miglimad al katfeh. If you're going to tell me that you're already collecting from him, you could already collect from the glima al katfeh. Is this a terminology that the Edot Mizrach use in their ketubah, which is basically from the jacket which is on his back, right? Afilu miglima. Right, dal kitfe, even from the glima, which is on top of his ketefayim, on top of his shoulders, right, and from any type of metaltalin. So what are we talking about? So says the Gemara, what are we dealing with? Shasawa putiki, that the one that was chayav, he designated the eved for collection, which means, and then what he did was he sold it. So in such a case where he designated the eved for collection and then he sold it, so the Balchov is allowed to take out the eved from the lokeach, from the purchaser, and even though it's like metaltalin, and usually you cannot take metaltalin from the lokuchot, here you could. Why? Because he was like the lien. He was like the object which was used for the collateral. Kedrava, like Rava says, Asav do putiki, the person made his eved into a putiki, umecharon, and he sold him. Balchov gomen menu, the Balchov could come and collect it. Shoro putiki, but if it was a short that he made into a putiki, umachro, and he sold it, you cannot collect it from him. My time, what's reasoning? There's a call. What does that mean? When you have an eved, there's a call, there's a voice on it. So people know about what's going on. People know this eved became in a putiki on this deal. An animal is an animal. What? An animal has a number. This number animal is a putiki. This one. So an animal does not have a call. So since it doesn't have a call, you cannot, exactly like a tracking number. So you cannot come and track the animal. So therefore the animal you cannot collect, but from the other one you can collect. With that, we continue to